Hi, boys and girls. This is Ms. Kathy. I'm so happy you've joined me today for another story just for you. Joseph and his brothers. After many years, God spoke to Jacob again. "Go back to your own land," he said. So Jacob led his family and flocks of sheep and goats back to the land of Canaan. Along the way, he sent messengers to his brother Esau to tell him that he was coming back. The messengers returned and said, "Esau is coming to meet you with 400 men." Jacob was afraid that Esau was coming to kill him. He talked to God. "You told me to come back to this land. Please protect me and my family from my brother." That night, Jacob sent gifts ahead to Esau as he took his family across a river where they might be safer. But Jacob stayed at the river alone, thinking and praying. Suddenly, out of the darkness, a man grabbed him. Jacob jumped on the man, sure that it must be Esau or one of his men. They wrestled and fought, rolling on the ground and struggling until the sun began to rise. When the stranger saw that he could not defeat Jacob, he touched Jacob's hip, and Jacob's legs stopped working. He was crippled. But Jacob had figured something out. This was not a man he was wrestling with. It must be God. He stopped fighting and just held on as tight as he could. The stranger said, "Let me go. The sun is coming up." Jacob cried, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So God blessed Jacob and gave him a new name, Israel. Israel would be the name of his family, and of the nation of people his children would become. Jacob limped away from there and went back to his family. Before long, he looked up to see Esau and his men coming. But he was not afraid any more, and when Esau came close, he ran to Jacob and hugged him. The brothers weren't enemies anymore. So Jacob settled down to live in Canaan. His wives had many children, but Rachel died after Benjamin, her second son, was born. Because of Rachel, Jacob loved Benjamin and his brother Joseph more than his other sons. Joseph was younger than his brothers. Some of them were already grown and married, but sometimes he helped them with the flocks. He decided that it was his job to tell his father whenever his brothers did something bad or wrong. Of course, this made them angry. Then one day Jacob gave Joseph a special coat, nicer than anything he had ever given to the other boys. Knowing that Jacob loved Joseph most, his brothers hated him. One day Joseph told his brothers, "Listen to the dream I had last night. We were all in the field tying up bundles of wheat. Then my bundle of wheat stood up, and all of your bundles gathered around and bowed down to it." His brothers got mad again. "Do you think you are going to be king over us?" they asked, and they hated Joseph even more. But when Joseph had another dream, he had to tell them about it. "In my dream, the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing to me." This dream even made his father mad. "Do you think your whole family will serve you?" Jacob asked. One day, when the other brothers had been gone for a few weeks, Jacob told Joseph, "Go find your brothers and see if everything is okay with them and the flocks." So Joseph hiked away alone to search for them. Before many days had passed, he discovered where they had led the flocks to graze and followed them there. When his brothers saw him walking toward them, they said, "Here comes that dreamer. Let's kill him and throw his body into a dry well. We can tell his father that a wild animal killed him. That will show how much his dreams mean." But the oldest brother, Reuben, wanted to save Joseph. "Let's just throw him into a well and leave him," he suggested. Everyone agreed, so Reuben walked away, planning to come back later and rescue Joseph. When Joseph walked up, the brothers grabbed him, ripped off his beautiful coat, and threw him into a well. Then they sat down and ate lunch, ignoring Joseph's shouts and cries. While they were eating, a caravan of camels came by. Traders were traveling across the desert to Egypt. "Hey," Judah said, "let's make some money off this dreamer. Let's sell Joseph to these traders as a slave." So they pulled Joseph out and sold him for 20 silver coins. While his brothers watched, Joseph's hands were tied to a rope and he was led away. When Reuben found out what they had done, he cried, "What will I tell our father?" The other brothers didn't care. They killed a goat and dipped Joseph's ripped coat in the blood. Then they took the coat home and gave it to their father. "Is this Joseph's coat?" they asked. Jacob cried, sure that a wild animal had killed his Joseph. Joseph must have prayed for God to rescue him, but God didn't. God had plans for Joseph in Egypt. And Joseph remembered that God would be with him no matter what happened to him or where he was taken.
The story you have heard today is from the Shoebox Kids Bible Stories, written by Jerry D. Thomas and used with permission from the Pacific Press Publishing Association. If you're interested in any other books published by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, please visit AdventistBookCenter.com or call 1-800-765-6955.
This podcast is a production of the Carolina Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.